Hello guys, welcome to another video of Data Factory. In today's video, we are going to integrate CI/CD with Azure Data Factory. We will be seeing how we can totally automate the CI/CD. In my previous video, I have told you how you can create CI/CD pipelines to deploy your resources in Azure Data Factory. But there was one manual step involved in that. Basically, in that we are doing all the development thing directly from our data factory, and we published it directly from here, and our code was pushed into the publish branch, ADF publish branch, and for from there our pipeline was getting triggered and we deployed into the respective environments like QA, pre-production and production environment. Okay. But in this video, we will be going to discuss how we can automate everything from validating to publishing directly from your CI/CD pipelines so that you don't need to integrate or configure Git directly from here, even in the production or any of the environments. Okay, like how we have configured the Git. You don't need to do this in any other QA or pre-production or production environment. Okay, let's begin the video. Here I am in my data factory. This is my data factory. If you click on Launch Studio, it will take you to this screen. Here you can change whatever you want. In my last video, we have seen how we can integrate the Git as well inside our ADF. If you click on Manage and Git configuration, from here you can connect your Git repository directly in ADF, and you can work from here as well. Okay, I have two branch, main branch and this feature branch which I had created to work it. Let's now go ahead and create the pipeline for this, or even before creating the pipeline, let's see what is the difference between previous approach which we did and the current approach which will be creating the pipeline today. Okay, if you see the diagram, this is the old approach. Here if you see, this was the Git or DevOps or GitHub, you can say. Here we had the feature branch, and this is our collaboration master branch. We created the pull request and merge our code to the master branch. Once this is done, we published all the changes which I had shown you yesterday from the main branch. We had created this ADF feature branch and we had merged the pull request to the main branch, and we published it from here so that all the changes which were being made will be published directly inside our data factory in live version. Okay, so we published it from here. There was one manual step involved in the old CI/CD flow where we had to publish the changes from here from our Azure Data Factory, and from there was one template which was being generated that was in the ADF publish branch. If you go to the repository, this is my repository, and there was one branch, this ADF publish branch was created, and here all the ARM templates were generated which were being used for the deployment. Okay, but in this case this will be different. If you see that this was publish was the manual step, and from here the ARM template was generated, and from here release definition or release pipeline was created, and with this release pipeline it was being deployed to the QA environment and production environment, and from this manual step it was deployed in the dev environment of data factory by just clicking on publish all. Once we have clicked the publish all, it will deploy to your dev environment. But in case of QA and prod, we did uh, deploy that with generating the ARM template in ADF publish branch and creating the release pipeline. This was the old workflow. Let's now see the new one. What has changed? You can see here is our repository section where we have the feature branch. We created the pull request to the master branch, and this will trigger one build. Okay, this commit or pull request will trigger one uh, pipeline, that will be your build pipeline, and that will use this ADF utility npm package to build the artifact. Okay, this is basically one node.js package which you will have to download, and it will basically internally it will validate and generate the ARM template. It will go ahead inside your data factory. It will validate all your templates and all the resources if everything is fine or not, or if there are any validation error. And if everything is okay, if there is no validation error, it will go ahead and generate the template as well, and it will publish the template inside your Azure pipeline so that you can use those templates later. So everything will be done inside the build pipeline. Okay, after this artifact is published, you can create one separate pipeline, or even in the same pipeline you can create the pipeline which will deploy all of the resources in all of the environment, like dev environment, QA environment, and production environment. There is no manual involvement in this. You don't need to go and click on validate all here. You don't need to go and click save all, or you don't need to go and click on publish. Okay, you can directly make changes in this feature branch and create the pull request from your ADU, and it will trigger one build pipeline which will build the application, or basically internally it will validate and generate the ARM templates. And once this build pipeline is complete, this will trigger the release pipeline, and release pipeline will download the artifact and will deploy to the data factory in all of the environments, that can be dev, QA, air, or production. Okay, now let's go and see how we can create the pipeline. Suppose this is my feature branch, which is this one. You can directly also work in main branch as well, but this is the best practice which you can follow. Here we have the linked service which we had created, and the JSON for our factory. Okay, let's now go ahead and create the new pipeline. Click on pipelines and new pipeline, select your repository. This is my repository. Click on starter pipeline. So here is your starter pipeline, and for YAML, if you this is the Microsoft documentation. If you scroll down, you can see all the details as well, like how you can export the templates, how you can validate it, and how you can create the pipeline. Okay, before creating the pipeline, go to repository, and you will have to create one JSON file, package.json file, which will be used to download the ADF package, this Azure Data Factory utility package, which will be used to build your code. Let's now go ahead and create it. Click on new file, package.json, create it, copy the content from here, this should be the content, and paste it inside your package.json. Let's commit it here. Our package.json is ready. We'll be supplying path of this package.json directly inside our pipeline to build the application. Okay, now let's go ahead and create the pipeline. If you scroll down, this is the YAML which is given here. Let's copy it and paste it here. I will explain you what are these things. If you come here, this is the trigger, that is main. Collaboration branch, this is the collaboration branch which we have created. Once we create the pull request from our feature branch to main, this pipeline will be triggered automatically and it will go ahead and deploy our resources to the development environment. Okay, this is the VM image, that is agent pool, and here are the steps. Okay, we are using node since we have package.json, which is npm package. We are using or we are downloading this use node task to download the version. Install node.js. Make sure you are installing node that is more than 18 version, then only this task will work, otherwise it might fail. So make sure you are always downloading this 18.x version or 18 dot whatever version you want. Okay, the next task is install npm package. Here we'll be supplying the folder of the package.json file. Simply provide the path of this package.json file. Here we have created in the root directory. I will be supplying this file here. Okay, this will go ahead and install the npm package which we have specified here, that is Microsoft Azure Data Factory utilities. It will go ahead and install this package from the npm. Okay, now the next task, this is just the custom task will be running inside npm, that is run build validate. This will first validate the template and this will generate the ARM templates as well. If you go click on here, this run build export task, this will generate the ARM template as well. But before that, we'll be just validating the template. If you see the comments here as well, validate all the data factory resources in the repository. You will get the same validation errors as when validate all is selected. So make sure you run this task, validate the task before exporting the template, so that if there are any issues, the pipeline will be failed and you can go ahead and debug that. Okay, even to validate, you will have to path provide the JSON file path. Let's add it here. This is our path. Okay, let's provide this path here and the resource ID of your ADF. Let's go ahead and copy the resource ID of our data factory. You can take your development environment data factory, because most of the time you will be making changes or you will be doing changes inside your development environment, and based on that you will be deploying your other environment as well. Okay, so let's add it. And even in the next command, will be supplying this resource ID, ADF resource ID inside our command. So let's add this here as well. So we have given the resource ID. If you expand it, so here we have given the validate command, After this validate is done, this is another command, another npm custom command to validate and export the ARM template. For that, we'll be using this npm run build export command. We'll have to supply this package.json file path. Just provide this JSON file. You can provide the root folder here if you don't have it. Leave it blank. If it fails, we'll see it later. Just provide the package file here. Okay. And once this validation is done, we will generate the ARM template, and finally we'll publish the build pipeline artifact as well. Okay. Now let's go ahead, save and run this pipeline. And let's see if it fails or work fine. Let it load. If you see it here, this pipeline has failed because we have provided the wrong package.json folder inside the pipeline. Let me go ahead and see what changes I made to fix this. If you click on edit, initially we had given the package.json file path, but here we just have to provide the folder path. You can see we replace with the package.json folder. You don't need to provide this package.json file path. If you provide it, this pipeline is going to fail. So make sure you are providing the package.json folder path. Okay, everywhere I have changed it, but whatever wherever I had made this change, and this should fix the issue which you might get of this package.json folder not found. Okay, again, so I have run this run build validate command, install npm package, run build validate. This will validate the resources which you might have inside your Azure Data Factory. These all are npm commands. After this validation is done, we'll go ahead and generate the ARM template with this run build export command, and we'll be supplying the path where we want to generate the ARM template and the resource ID of which we are going to see and generate the template, and finally the folder name where we are storing this template. So the folder name is ARM template. Once this is done, we are publishing this ARM template folder inside the pipeline. Okay, let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. Let's wait for the pipeline. This is now scheduled in Azure pipelines and Ubuntu latest at SVM image. Let's wait for some time. This, you can see this has installed the Node.js version, that is 18.20. This has installed the npm package as well, which we had given inside the package.json file. You can see this has failed. This has fetched and downloaded everything. Okay, this has validated the resources as well, whatever we had in that. Okay, after this, this will validate and generate the ARM template, and finally we are publishing that pipeline artifact inside our pipeline. So this build pipeline is complete. Okay, from this ADF hyphen one branch. Let's now go ahead. If you click on one published, you'll be able to see all your templates here. Whatever we need to use, we can see it here. If you go inside your repository and check all the ADF publish branch, we are getting everything whatever we are getting here after doing the publish as well with automated publishing. We don't need to go to the data factory to click on publish to generate everything. We can directly use npm packages to build the arm template, validate the arm template, and generate it. We have the parameter file, we have the main template file, which you can use to deploy the ADF resources. You can call this template, we can use this template parameter file. If you have global parameters, you can use this global parameters update script to deploy the global parameters using this JSON file. So there is one JSON file also generated which you can use inside this PowerShell script to deploy your global parameters if you have inside your Azure Data Factory. And this is the pre-post deployment script.ps1, which generally we use to stop the triggers and start the triggers before and after the deployment respectively. Okay, and inside the link templates we can see other templates as well. This is master template, and these are some other templates. Generally, due to some ARM template limitations, all the resources inside your Azure Data Factory can't be in the same ARM template. That's why it will go ahead and create multiple templates according to the requirement. Okay, so here we have the ARM template ready. You can see this is generated. We just now go ahead, need to create a new pipeline to fetch this template, to download this template and deploy inside your ADF. Okay, for this we'll have to create again the same type of release pipeline which we had created earlier to deploy these resources. Let me go ahead and click the create new release pipeline. Select the empty job and add the artifact. Project is fine, and this is the pipeline name. I think ADF-01. Let me check. Yeah, this is the pipeline name ADF-01. Let's add it. Enable the continuous deployment as well, so that whenever there is one commit or build pipeline is completed, this will be triggered. Okay, and let's change the name to dev environment. Go to task. Now you can add multiple tasks to deploy your resources. Before deploying this, you will have to stop the triggers. Change the pipeline name to ADF deploy. There is one process to deploy everything in Azure Data Factory. Before deploying, you'll have to stop the triggers. So we will go ahead and stop the triggers. To do that, simply use that Azure PowerShell task. We'll use this task to stop the triggers. If you go to the documentation, we can get the task as well. Let me check. So if you come here, Let me check. Yeah, so this is sample pre and post deployment script. Like this, we'll have to use the Azure PowerShell task. So I will go ahead and add this PowerShell task. Add your subscription details. This is nothing but the service connection which you will have to create by going into the manage or service connections from project setting. You can directly create the Azure Resource Manager connection. Let's add the inline script here, or we can provide the script file path. Click on this three dot and select the script path, that is pre-post deployment script.ps1. This is the script which we'll have to use inside this stop triggers command. So first we'll be stopping the triggers. This will stop the triggers, and here in the script arguments you will have to simply pass this argument to stop the triggers. Okay, here you'll have to provide the template path that will provide in few minutes, and here you'll have to provide the resource group name of your Azure Data Factory, and finally you'll have to provide the data factory name. This is pre-deployment script, that is true because we are using the same script for before deploying the resources, and this will delete deployment, that is false. Okay, once this is done, just use the latest installed version of Azure PowerShell. This task will stop the ADF triggers. Now we will add another task which will just deploy it. We'll use this ARM template task to deploy the resources. Deploy ADF. Scope should be resource group. Select your service connection. Select the subscription. I think I have selected the wrong one maybe. This is my service connection. Select the resource group. This is my resource group. Select the location. I think my resource group location is, let's check. This is East US. I think the resource group location also should be East US. So go ahead and select the East US region. Here the template location is linked artifact because we are getting getting the template directly from the build pipeline. Let's select the template. Use this ARM template for factory.json because this is the ARM template which we need to deploy. In the template parameters, let's select the parameter file. This is the parameter file which we need to use. And in override template parameters, we have to pass all the parameters which we need to override in the runtime. Suppose this parameter you have is for development environment, and you need to do the same thing or save resources in QA as well. We'll have to use the override template parameters. We'll see just in few minutes. Let's go ahead and download this template first. So let me download this file and download this file as well. To check what are the parameters being used, Based on that, we'll just add the things in override parameters. This file is downloaded. Let's download the this parameter file as well. Both are downloaded. Let's open them. This is my parameter file. You can see we have only two parameters. That is factory name and another one is Azure Blob Storage connection string for the linked service which we had created. If you have multiple resources inside your Azure Data Factory, you will have so many parameters. So you will have to override all of them, or whatever parameters you want to override, you can use that. Okay. So we'll be overriding two parameters. One is factory name and another one is Azure Blob connection string. Because our factory name will be different across the environment, and this Azure Blob storage connection string will also be different across the environment. That's why we need to override it while deploying the template from here. If you don't override it, all the things, everything will be created with same name and same values in all of your environments. So no point of creating the same values in each of the environment like QA, prod, or even in pre-production. Okay, so make sure you are overriding the template parameters. For this, just click on this I button and you can pass your value something like this. You just get this name from here, just copy it and paste it here. Or if you don't want to do this, simply click on this three dot and you will get one option to add the parameters. Let's click on add. The first parameter we have is factory name. Let's add the factory name. And what should be the value? So for development environment, our factory name is this. So let's add this. Make sure you are just adding something like this. Or if you are getting this from variables, you can add something like this as well with dollar. Suppose you, this factory name you are getting from the variables, you can add something like this as well. Okay, or directly you can hard code it here. So both ways you can do it. For now I'm just hard coding it here because I don't have variables added with the factory name. The next one is Azure Blob connection string. Again, these all things you can store in variable groups as well, and you can access them like how I just showed you. Suppose this is XYZ. I'm just typing it just to show you. Click on add and your template parameters will be added here. So the in override parameters, all the parameters like factory name or Azure Blob connection string, whatever parameters you have given here will be overridden with the original ones. Okay, so everything or this, suppose you are using this override template parameters in keyway, this original factory name whatever you have inside your template that is hard coded will be overridden with the parameter which you will provide here inside this override template parameters. Okay, so this task is also complete. We have given this template file, parameter file, as well as this override template parameter. Once this is done, we will have to start the triggers as well. We had stopped the triggers before starting the deployment so that we don't face issues while doing the deployment. Our deployment is done using this task. So after this, you will have to start the triggers as well. Let's clone this task. This is my task. Let's keep it after this. Right, this is not moving. Yeah, just change the name to start the triggers. Okay, script will be same, the argument will be different. You will have to just change the argument. Just come here and this is the argument you will have to pass while running this start ADF trigger command. There is just the minor difference. If you see here, the pre-deployment is false because this is the command which we are using to start the triggers, and delete deployment is true. This is the minor difference between the stop ADF trigger task and start ADF trigger task. Here you will have to provide the template path. Let me go ahead, and this is my template path. So let's go ahead and copy it and provide this here. Okay, this is my template path. This is the resource group name which you will have to provide here. Suppose this is my resource group name. I'll just add it here inside my pipeline. This is my pipeline. Now we will have to provide the data factory name as well. So the data factory name is this one. Just add the data factory name inside this pipeline. This is our data factory name. Okay, let's copy it and add the same heat thing again in this start ADF triggers command as well. If you see, this is IAM template path from here to here. This is my resource group name. This is data factory name. In pre-deployment, this is false, and delete deployment is true. So our start ADF trigger command as well as a stop ADF trigger command is ready, and even we have used this ARM template deployment task to deploy the resources with ARM template. Our pipeline is ready and complete. Okay, let's save this. You can also create another stage, multiple stages. Suppose this you are doing it for QA, this you are doing for the prod, and inside this deploy ADF you just have to change one thing. You just provide this prod ADF name, prod connection string, and everything of the prod, even in QA. Just change this. Suppose this is QA resource. Just type this QA. Change this Azure blob connection string for your QA environment. Change some of the other things as well, like resource group name from your QA environment. Even in start ADF trigger, change the resource group name, data factory name of your QA environment, and save this so that you will have all the stages which you can use to deploy inside your Azure Data Factory. Our pipeline is ready for dev. Let's now try to deploy this pipeline. We are not going to trigger it. Our pipeline should be triggered automatically. You can do other things as well, like you can add the artifact filter so that this pipeline only can be deployed from the main branch or development branch. You can add the pull request, or you can schedule it as well. You can include the pre-deployment approvals inside your production. Suppose this is your production, so make sure you are adding pre-deployment approvals so that no one else go ahead and just approve it before running the prod and QA. This should ask for the approval, so let's add it. Okay, we have enabled the continuous deployment so that this pipeline will be enabled automatically. You can add the branch filter as well so that this pipeline should trigger only when the artifact is from main branch. Let's now go ahead and save this pipeline. This is my pipeline, and this is the release pipeline which we just created, and this is ADF-1 is our build pipeline. Let's now go ahead and create the pull request from this feature ADF-01 branch to the main branch and see what happens. Go to pull request. See, this branch has been updated. Click on create a pull request. Adding the ADF pipeline. Click on create. There is one merge conflict. Let's resolve this conflict. I think we are not getting option. Let's link one work item. Or simply just let's go and remove the branch policies from main branch just for now. Let's refresh this, and we just have to resolve this merge conflict inside this Azure pipelines.yaml. Somehow we are not getting it. Let me just abandon this and go to the repository. Let's just delete this Azure pipeline itself from the main branch. Create the pull request again. Adding ADF pipeline. Approve it, and let's complete the pull request. Okay, so the code has been merged to the main branch. Let's now go to the pipeline, the build pipeline. You can see this pipeline is automatically running because we had enabled the continuous integration from main branch for this build pipeline, so that this build pipeline should go ahead and build and generate the ARM template automatically without our manual intervention. This is now running and validating and publishing our ARM template directly inside the pipeline. This is complete. If you see, this might have published the artifact as well. You can see all the templates are generated, and once this pipeline is complete, if you go to the release pipeline, there should be one release created for this as well. You can see this adf-deploy. This is our pipeline and this is running. Release 1 is created just now and this is running the dev environment as well, and it has selected the artifact which is generated from here. The 5.11 version is generated just now from main branch, and it has selected the same artifact and it has started running as well. If you see, click on logs, you can see this is now stopping the ADF triggers. Once this is done, it will run the deploy ADF command, and finally it will start all the ADF triggers as well. Somehow this is failing to log in. I think I have selected the wrong service connection here. Let me go ahead and correct it. Then we'll re-trigger this pipeline again. I have changed my service connection, which is correct one, in both the pipelines. So one another thing which you need to notice here, if you are using this Azure PowerShell, make sure you are using PowerShell core. If you are not using PowerShell core, this task might fail with different issues which you might not be able to fix. So make sure you are using PowerShell core in both the tasks. If you go to advanced and click on use PowerShell core. Okay. The next thing is inside this deploy ADF. Since we have created this Azure blob storage connection string, this should expect the connection string here. Otherwise, our template deployment will fail. So for that, I have created one storage account here, and we'll copy this connection string from here to here. So now I have added the connection string as well as factory name and other details as well. Let me now click on save and re-trigger my build pipeline so that this should again go ahead and triggers my release pipeline as well. I have re-triggered this. This will trigger my release pipeline as well. So let's for a minute for this pipeline to complete. Okay, the things which we have changed here, if you have multi-stage pipeline, make sure you are changing it in all the stages. You keep PowerShell core in even in QA stage as well, and you change all the parameters inside your deploy ADF template deployment command as well in each of the stages. Let's go to dev stage. Here we have everything correct, and this pipeline is also completed. So let's go to the releases and see if new release is running. Yeah, you can see this new release has been started and this has started deploying the development environment as well. This is right now waiting for the agent, and stop ADF triggers task has been running. This task will basically stop all the ADF triggers which you might have created inside these triggers, because if you are not stopping the triggers, your deployment will fail. Okay, so before starting the deployment, make sure you are always stopping it. So you can see this stop ADF trigger task is running. This is getting all the triggers, stopping zero triggers because we don't have any triggers inside our ADF, you can see if you have the triggers, it will go ahead and stop all the triggers before running the deployment. If, okay, now deploy ADF task is complete. That means our template deployment is completed, and whatever things which we had inside this main branch has been deployed inside our data factory. Okay, you can see the linked service as well or other things as well. If you go to the live mode, you will be able to see everything here without clicking the publish changes inside your Azure Data Factory in dev environment. Okay, once all this is done, see this deploy ADF is done and our development environment deployment is also just completing. So yeah, you can see the stop ADF trigger task, deploy ADF and start ADF trigger task all are completed, and this will complete the development environment as well. Okay, once this is done, your QA environment should be triggered automatically. You can see this is QA environment is triggered, and this will deploy the same resources inside your QA environment as well. Okay, since we have overridden the parameters here inside this template deployment task, we have given the factory name of QA and connection string of QA here, so that it will this value will be replaced inside this Azure template parameter factory for JSON file in the runtime. Okay, and these parameters will be picked for your QA environment. So this way you will be able to deploy your resources, you will be able to export your resources or export the IAM template of your resources in Azure Data Factory directly using the npm commands or npm build in your build pipeline. And once those templates are exported, you will be able to consume those templates inside your release pipeline, and you'll be able to deploy them in each of the environment automatically. You can see there is no manual intervention here, everything is automated. You don't need to do anything, you just make the changes, create the pull request, and pipeline will take care of everything from validating your template, publishing, and deploying your resources inside the Azure Data Factory. Okay, you can see this QA is waiting in deployment queue because I think there is another QA for release 2 which is in waiting state. So if you cancel it, this will start. It is asking me to approve. Once I approve it, this will go ahead and deploy the QA environment as well. Okay, I don't need to deploy it right now because I was just showing you for the demo purpose, just for one environment. So like this, you can deploy your resources in multiple environments as well. Okay. Okay, so we have covered all the process which you can see, all the automated process, automated building and publishing of your ARM template, validating the ARM template or validating the resources in ADF, building that using npm tool, and finally deploying them in multiple stages or multiple environments using the release pipelines. Okay, that's it from this demo, or that's it from this, you can say, real world example or hands-on tutorial. This is the strategy most of the organization follows for their Azure Data Factory deployment using CI/CD pipelines. So if you are preparing for any DevOps interview or any data factory or data pipeline CI/CD pipelines interview, you can follow this approach to answer your questions in interviews. Okay, that's it from this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe my channel. If you have any feedback or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.